So heaven on earth. You always we share about that. So would you please share more about that? What does it mean? And what does it mean to live spiritually? To be able to bring that. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, heaven on earth. What a saying. I was so happy when I found this expression in one scripture of Sri Aurobindo, and I found it lately, heaven on earth, also said by a mystic of Japan. And I thought, oh wow, so it's not so much the wrong expression, because when you say heaven on earth, most of the people, think, oh, that's not possible, heaven on earth. It's not possible. But it is possible. And I'm, in a way, a modern mystic with inner visions, what is possible for humanity in future. And there is like an inner knowledge that beside everybody has in its heart, because we are all mystical beings. When we are silent and when we are really listening, we have access to the deeper reality, and that is one way of expressing that is the understanding of a mystic, or the knowledge which is non-knowledge at the same time, but which understands the universal laws in a much bigger context. And these are mystical laws. And so another expression, like for example Eckhart Tolle talks about a new earth, and in one way it is a new earth without having a destruction of the old world, rebuilding a new earth, physically. No, not at all. It has very much to do also how we look at things. Because the way we look at things, we create exactly the things we see, the way we see it and look at it. But that's only one layer of my understanding. In our culture, we come from Christianity, and we have the Bible, and we have the symbol that Adam and Eve have been put out of paradise, with the tree of knowledge or recognizing. It's actually the understanding in consciousness of light and shadow, what is high and what is low, what is left and what is right. They had to leave oneness, going into the understanding of polarities, understanding how these two aspects are complementary, and how this forms the wave. The wave is the sea, of course, but to get to know this reality and recognize it consciously as that what it is, was in a way the leaving or put out of paradise. So that was the tree of recognizing, and now is a time we meet again under the tree of life, which brings together the knowledge of the wave and inseparably the oneness with it as the sea. Yeah. So the wave is the sea, and there we meet under the life tree again, creating in a way a world in harmony with the totality. And this has to do with the consciousness of us humanity, being able to live in oneness, being able to live in and out of oneness, we have access to new mystical technologies which are old, called cities, but which we can, in the rootedness of loving all that is, we are able to go into the deepest atomic structure beyond the electrons and beyond the center point. How is it called? Atomic...
A cell? No.
No, not the cell. You know, when you have the atomic constellation, there's the electrons, there's the proton, and then there is the kernel. I don't know how you say it in English.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, because we go into, as I have to say it in other words, as everything, every electron is held about, is held through the inner pole of love. When we are loving limitlessly, without borders, we have access to the inner atomic structure of form, and we will be able to change that form, because we have the key. The key of life is light, love, love, light, but only in its absolute purest sense, and that has to do with the heart being understanding, being nothing, all at the same time. So heaven on earth is not a symbol. It is a future vision where we are slowly developing our possibilities, being creator and created at the same time, being able to consciously now co-create with that big mystery that has no name. It's a cooperation starting there too, on another level, where we will be able to use nature forces in a much more natural way, where we will be able to be rooted and in communio with Mother Earth, who has also only one interest, to be in service of the whole, as every tree has, in a way every animal. Only we human beings are not yet ripe enough or mature enough to really live that from day to day, from moment to moment, in that wonderful greatness we really are. So heaven on earth is something surpassing separateness, being rooted in oneness, celebrating together under the tree of life, co-creating, cooperating, letting emerge a way of life that is more in harmony with the totality. And I even see that when humanity has once achieved or stabilized heaven on earth, it will be in the service of the cosmos. There will be a service of humanity for other planets or stellar constellations, where we will help.
It's beautiful, and I think you already shared a bit about, but maybe just briefly could just again practically how do we bring that So this is, we understand, this is how, again, rooted in non-separation. And so what do we, as a layman, or we should do in our daily lives, as a daily practice? Let me put this other way. What are some of the...
Nisargadatta Maharaj has said something wonderful. He said, you are incredibly active. But going from one place to another is not activity. The real activity is transformation of the heart. So I think the most important nowadays is for creating heaven of earth to let your heart be transformed. That is doing. All the rest is in a way dancing. And I think at the moment this is the most important.
It's beautiful, Annette, but here's the thing, and individually, so there are moments I feel my heart very opened up.
Yes.
And then there are moments when it feels closed,
Yes.
and it's which feels very natural as a human being, as an instinct. So how do we remind ourselves?
What if he is closed?
Closed means...
Is that natural?
No, closed is not natural. Being open is natural, but in that moment, it's like a survival instinct sometimes.
Oh yeah, many issues.
And many issues, and maybe our conditioning, as you were talking about,
right.
our environment, which kind of...
interesting is to self-observe when that is happening. Yeah. There you learn. Yeah. Because the natural way of living is to have an open heart, to be the open heart. That's actually the most natural. And then once you have this taste of being present, or whatever, open heart, or how you call it, or be just from moment to moment present in the now, then you just start to watch where you go into separation. And then you to recognize, always when this lady shows up, or when these circumstances show up, or when I see refugees, I say, oh no, too much. Or when my, how do I say, for example, my partner does a certain movement which is too loud, I react to it. This is very small. Or my children, or this or that, or in the office, my how do I say? My superior
boss,
the boss, for example, stings or says you have to be careful there and there. Then you see how you go into separation, to self-defend, or you feel insecure, or there are many ways, and by observing that, and you are not, how do I say, discouraging you. You don't put over a layer of again and again and again. No, you just observe and see, these are these moments. What could be behind there? We are very much a friend to ourselves too. Then you discover, that's coming from there. Oh, now I understand. And when you are conscious about it, consciousness is light. It's like when you have in the morning, in the fall, we have this how do we say, fog?
Yeah.
And that's the fog, and then the sun, consciousness is like the sun, the warmth, and the fog slowly disappears. That's how it works. Because the natural status, or the natural way a human being is in its depth, is to be a loving, conscious human being. That's the natural way.